Good morning. You are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQD 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. I am Catherine Bell, and this is The Dream Journal, a weekly show where we explore the healing powers of your nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with you.
Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But
in the words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Today we have a very special show in celebration of the vernal equinox. I am taking phone calls only today. Some listeners tell me they don't want to interrupt my conversation with my guests, and today I have no guests. So go ahead and call in at any time. You can share a dream or ask a question. The number is 831-900-5773. That's 900 KSQD. What have you been dreaming about lately? Any pandemic dreams? We're here at KSQD to support you. Or are you taking this chance to turn inward and untangle your personal world? Either way, you are not alone. Give us a call here at the station and share your thoughts. 831-900-5773. This is Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. I'd like to remind you that the views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of Natural Bridges Media or of KSQD's staff, volunteers, or underwriters. Please check out the Dream Journal podcast. Look for it, review it, subscribe, and tell a friend. Look for it on all your major podcast platforms. New episodes will be released within a few days of every broadcast of the Dream Journal. I'll start by sharing my personal dream work and then turn to the phones. So I've been working with a dream practice. This is one of my main ways of working with dreams, is through a practice. And in this dream, I'm upset, and there's like a whole long story about why I'm upset. But basically, I'm crying and I'm afraid. And this man, who in the dream I regard him as a hero, whatever that means, he knocks on the door, and I'm like, no, I must be alone. But there, at the end of the dream, there's a sense of opening. And this would be huge for me, because when I get flustered, my go-to usually is to want to be alone. But if I can open the door to this person who wants to support me, even while I'm upset, and like maybe it's okay to be upset. Like, well, that's kind of radical concept for me. And to let in the support. And this morning, live radio, where we had some things flying through the air here, and I got my adrenaline running, and I have these lovely people here to support me, Max and Rick Kleffel, and I was able to say, just help, come in right now. I'm going live in 3 minutes, and I have no headphones. And then I reached out to Howard, and it is a way, of, this is kind of breaking the fourth wall here on the radio. But there's a way that it's important for me to learn to let in help. And I'm really taking that dream to heart with me right now and moving it in action. So this is a call-in only show. We have 2 phone lines available, and we already have one caller on line 1, and we are going to keep line 2 open. Line 2 is currently open. If you want to give us a call, 831-900-5773. You can listen to ksqd.org while you're waiting in queue. And then once you come on the radio, please turn down anything you're listening to. Also, be sure to give Max your phone number when you call in, because I am offering anybody who talks on the air a free full dream session with me in my gratitude for participating in this community event. Okay. So good morning, caller. Please say hello. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Hi, Catherine. This is Claudia.
Hey, Claudia.
I'm calling from beautiful Santa Cruz.
Oh, wonderful. This is Claudia DeBoard was one of my guests last July, and I'm so glad that you called in. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure to touch base with you again in this medium. It's been beautiful to hear your opening and your dream. And, of course, we're in a time right now of quite a bit of us being sequestered in our homes and by ourselves.
Yeah.
So I can touch base with how that must be,
Right. Well, here we're on the radio station. We want to be your lifeline, and this is local community radio here in Santa Cruz. It's not some big clear channel from broadcast from Houston or something. We're sitting in our studio on Encinal Street, and we have the phone lines open to be with you to talk about what's up for you and how can I support you today, Claudia?
Well, a couple of things. This current situation has brought up. As you know, I've worked with dreams for a long, long time, and I feel the strength and the power and the comfort and the knowledge that they process for all of us. And the trick is to understand what they're about for yourself. I think that's the hardest piece: is how do you get through some of the tailor-made symbology so that it works. And as you work with dreams over and over, they get more and more persistent in their knowledge and wanting to help you. And so today I'm just so grateful that we can have that avenue at this time in our lives, that we can be connected into that imaginal place, that power of the world's dreams, of the culture's dreams, and of our own dreams. Because it's, people sometimes say to me, I don't want to do that. It takes time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the, I'm not interested in worrying all night long about what I'm dreaming. I just, it's not worth it to me. And I think I want to just say that if you can handle that, if you can kind of let go of that and kind of just be present, there's an incredible amount of support, knowledge, and beauty awaiting as well, with the dreams bringing specific information. And that's kind of what I wanted to call in today, because I had a dream recently that was just very specific to help me with something I was struggling with. And I just want to share how grateful I am to that dream time, to be so intercommunicated with that it I don't know, it's like a friend, they knock on the door, it's like, oh yay, what is it you have that was going to help me, and it did. So I just wanted to share.
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay. Is it okay if I do a really short poem first? I always want to open that dream time with a little bit of a poem.
Sure.
I'd like to be met with a short poem. It's by Nils Peterson. He was a professor and poet at San Jose State, retired now, who was a friend of mine in the studies that we did for Dream. So here it is. Night full of unremembered dreams. Memory just a small fish in a large school of being. All night they turn as one. White sides flashing against some hidden light. So easy, this reflex of moving together. No wonder when we wake singularly in our morning beds, memory brings back nothing but the sense of having been with these others moving as one in some great current. And that's kind of how I feel right now. We're kind of all moving in this one great current.
Yeah, we are. Even though we're interesting, the image of the school of fish all turning as one, even as they don't actually touch each other when they turn, but they turn in sync. Right.
And there's some kind of movement that it's always been fascinating to me how they could figure that out, but I haven't studied biology enough to understand how that works, because it works with birds too, where you look up in the sky and you can see those patterns of those beautiful birds as they turn and fly. So if you're ready, I'll go into the dream.
Sure, please. That would be wonderful.
Okay. This happened. Let me set it up a little bit. I've been, as we all have been, stuck in some really serious concerns about, well, lots of things, of course. We all are, food and money and health and families and a lot of things going on right now. And the day before I had this dream, I was talking to my financial advisor, and I was very concerned about what was going on. Since I'm retired and I have a minimal amount to live on, as many of us do. So this was a surprise to me, and I wanted to share this dream, and then I'll talk a little bit about how that all worked out.
Yeah.
So I'm with two adult male friends of mine. They have just returned from swimming in freezing water. I asked how long they were in it, and one of them says about 30 minutes. I'm surprised because that's a long time to be in frozen water. It shifts then, and near me is a stage outside by itself, and it's a distance away to my left. And then off to my right, a distance away, there's a bear. It's a small, growling, hunched over, and very agitated. It's tied to a large circus trunk, and it moves back and forth, highly agitated. As I watch, it stands up like bears do with the paws up. It's not a tall, big bear. It's more, it's smaller. And I see around it a cloud of blue smoke and continuously emanating from the bear. And I think, gosh, it must smell like a skunk. And then I have a task, and my task is to untie it, lead it up to the stage, and tie it up loosely again. After this performance, it will then be free. On the stage, at the top of the left corner, is a ring, and I decide I will lead it to the stage and then turn my back on it and tie it up loosely. That's part of the task for me, is that I have to turn my back on this bear. A friend of mine has brought another bear up, but she didn't turn her back on it. I'm very concerned about the smell, that it will be strong, and I mentioned that to this friend of mine. What is that blue smoke? But he doesn't know. I walk over toward the bear and realize that there must be its cub inside this trunk, and that's probably why it's so agitated. I untie it from there. I walk up to it, untie it from there. I turn around, and the two of us walk to the steps that go up to this outside stage, and we're even with each other. And then I walk in front of the bear with my back to it and tie it to the ring loosely, just looping it through. The ring is like you'd have tying up a horse or tying up an animal, that round brass ring. So I put it there, and then I wake up. And at the time of the dream, I had no connection whatsoever to the conversation that I'd had the day before with my financial advisor. And I wasn't going to meet with him again in another week to talk about what we were going to do. So I thought, I'm going to go back to this dream because it stayed with me so strongly. And I'm going to see if I can figure out what this bear is about.
Yeah.
So I have no idea about stock markets. Believe me, I don't understand them, and so I Googled a bear and a market. Well, lo and behold, that's what a low market is.
A bear market.
Which shocked me to death. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Right.
this dream is talking exactly about what I should do.
Right.
In market.
Well, that's amazing, because I've been wondering, like, what does it mean to turn your back on the bear, which just seems like the last thing you want to do. But if it's a bear market, you're supposed to leave your investments alone and not watch.
Exactly.
Claudia,
And
wow.
I know. It was such a shock when I realized how specific the dream had been to me, And it had been to me because number one, who wants to turn their back to a bear that's agitated?
Exactly.
But the more that I stayed with the image and the blue smoke, I thought that smelled like skunk. Well, the bear market stinks.
It does stink. Wow. Oh, that's amazing, Claudia. Yeah, because on the face of it, it's like, what is? It's like more like a circus dream or something. But then,
and we are in a circus.
Well,
right
we are.
Now.
Yeah.
This is a circus.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the big top, and you've got all the crazy things that are going on with the government, and you've got all the people in their own homes, and it is a circus now. I think.
Right. Well, I just want to ask, like, how when you worked with a dream and you realized that it has some reference. I'm sure there's many other things going on too, but there's at least one level of reference to your investments. I mean, I heard you laugh. How did that help you with your feelings about your worries about your investments?
Well, because of where I am with them, I'm not a market person. I reluctantly have a minimal piece in because I don't have that much retirement in the market. I was torn between getting it all out and protecting it, or leaving it in and riding it out. That's right now. That's the big issue. If you've got anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, facing the bear would be to face the market, and the other woman faced her fear. So it really has to do with fear. It has to do with the fear that we're not going to be okay, that we're not going to be all right, that it's not going to work out, and we forget that this is a temporary time, that this is just a place of difficulty, and we've been in them before. We'll be out of this one. And so for me, it had a lot to do with my own personal fear.
Yeah.
And my ability to turn and let it play itself out. So I did meet with my financial advisor, and I said, we're gonna do this with part of it, and we're gonna do this with the other part of it, and then I'm gonna turn my back on it and not look at it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna follow it every day. I'm not gonna allow the fear to enter into me each day as I look at those numbers.
Right.
Because that's not going to change anything at this point.
Yeah, I find that even with the news, I find I listen to a certain amount of news, especially either local news or world news, which is interesting. It's been helpful. But then I need to take a break and listen to like spiritual podcasts like The Living Myth with Michael Mead or This Jungian Life, and talking about the inward journey, and that I find that it gets too stressful to be listening to news all day. So
Exactly.
I thank you, Claudia. This is beautiful.
And I just want to remind everybody that dreams, when you are open to them, are specific to you and can bring you what you need as you live through your life.
Right.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of dreams. That's the beauty of this work. And thank you for allowing me to be with you at this time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Claudia. Well, take care, and I'm so glad that you called in.
It was a joy to be a part of your beautiful program.
Oh, thank you, Claudia. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So this is the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and this is KSQD Radio, 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. And we have another caller on the line, so I'm going to go straight to the phone and say hello. Hello, caller. Who are you? Say your name and where you're calling from, please.
Hey, Catherine, this is Chris, and I'm calling from Felton.
Oh, hey, Chris. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm really glad you're doing the call-in show today.
Yes, and before we get started, Chris, I want to say that we now have another line open, so if anybody else wants to call in and get in the queue, we have an open line. The number is 831-900-5773. That's 900-KSQD. You can share a dream or ask a question. Okay. And Max is waiting, so be sure to leave your phone number with Max, because I am offering a free session to anyone who comes on the air. So, and that applies to you too, Chris.
Thank you, Catherine.
All right. So, well, Chris, how are you doing? What's up for you these days?
Well, I think like you, we're saying, and with everybody else, we're having a whole mixed range of emotions between trying not to be in fear and then also being in a place of keeping our hearts open, supporting, the people that we're close to and everyone else in our community to just do everything we can to support each other. It feels like it's an opportunity to remember how we're all connected, and to me that's the silver lining in what's going on.
Yeah, it's true. There's an amazing amount of community over the internet. This seems to be blossoming right now. Zoom is a constant companion for me. All my sessions and all my groups have been on Zoom this week.
Yes. Yes, and it feels like we're coming up with, more and more creative and innovative ways to stay connected when we can't be in the same physical space, and that is exciting, and hopefully that will last long after this, current situation has resolved itself.
Well, I think we're discovering that we can actually do a lot of communication over the internet and without having to drive. I understand that emissions are way down in many countries, and that this is instant solution to climate change if we all stay home. I mean, I don't want this to go on forever, of course, but maybe there's something we're learning here about what we can accomplish if we have a motivation.
Absolutely, and a friend recently said it feels like the planet, like Gaia, is just taking a nice deep breath right now.
Right. Yeah. So we can, maybe there will be some lasting changes that come out of this that are all to the good, and I hope we get through it with a minimum number of people. Yeah, a minimum number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough said.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking a breath into that, the wishing this calm and peace and healing and strength to all our wonderful medical personnel. Thank you.
Absolutely. So much gratitude going around these days as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true.
So I had a dream recently that I was looking out onto my deck, which I'm doing right now, and instead of this beautiful redwood view that I have in waking life, there was this large lagoon with a big sandy beach. And as I looked at the beach, I saw that there was a tiger cub a few tiger cubs on the beach, and I was just fascinated by that. And then I'm inside my house, and the tiger cub is in the living room with me. And my cat was also in the living room, so I was, in my dream mind, I became really full of fear and apprehension that this tiger cub, which clearly could do great damage to my cat, was going to do that. But the two of them just, nosed each other and actually, kind of started playing with each other a little bit, and that calmed me down. And in the meantime, my husband is there, but he's just kind of standing very neutrally and watching the situation with no seemingly expression and no words at all. And then I turn around, and somehow the mother tiger, this huge tiger, has also made her way somehow into my living room. And now I'm, really filled with fear because I'm, very aware that, the mother protective instinct could kick in here, and that I assumed I was in grave danger. But the more I just sat still in my fear and watched the situation, the mother tiger just laid down and seemed very happy and peaceful to be in my living room with no aggression at all.
Wow.
At all.
So you have tigers in your living room, Chris. Wow.
Yes.
Two cubs and a mama. What is like that like for you?
Well, in the dream, it was this very interesting shift from, being, fearful and anticipating the worst case scenario to realizing that, this is going to be okay. Everybody's very calm. Everybody's peaceful. Everybody seems to be enjoying themselves. And it, shifted to this place of really sort of wonder and amazement that I could have these incredible animals right here in my living room, and that they would be accepting, I guess, of me and being in a house instead of out in the wild.
Right. the juxtaposition of the wild tigers and your house cat is interesting, and they're playing together. So there's some way that this fierce creature is not harming the domestic creature. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at my domestic creature right now.
Yeah, so maybe there's something like if the tigerness in me comes into my living room where I live, like I can claim that fierceness, that it doesn't have to destroy the domestic peacefulness I have here, that I can bring that fierceness into my life and not let go of that cuddly kitty either. Get to have both.
So you're saying that both things are part of who I am, and that they can coexist in ways that don't have to be scary.
Yeah, often we're afraid to bring in our strong, fierce selves because we're afraid that it'll disrupt our lives. And but if the tiger is a strong, fierce self, it's interesting that that it doesn't harm the cat. They get to play together. In fact, they kind of have fun together.
Exactly, and even the big, huge mother tiger is not growling or looking, not looking afraid herself in either way. She's just very calm and clearly feels comfortable in the house.
Wow, what a beautiful dream!
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, I love it, and that's a great insight, because that certainly is true for me. That I think I'm not dissimilar to many people. That those strong emotions, even when they're justified, can be very frightening.
Yeah.
And it feels like, you have to sort of be one way or the other, be calm in a situation and sort of suppress that fierceness. And that's very good feedback to start thinking about how both things can, even in the same situation, I can be both.
Right.
Instead of having to choose between sort of suppressing that, it's not even anger. It's just that. I actually, it's interesting because I had a situation at work recently where I felt like I had to really advocate and be sort of righteously indignant, and it did involve, what's going on with the virus these days, and I felt like I had to be the one to speak up and disagree with even the people who, are my superiors about what should be done in this situation. So that resonates really, really well for me to. And
how did it go when you spoke up? How was that received, and how did it feel for you when you spoke up?
That's a really good question, and this was, about a week and a half ago, and things have changed really quickly, as we all know. And and at the time, there was the reaction was, well, let's wait and see, and kind of not accepting my. I was perceived, I think, as being a little too drastic, and I kept standing in my truth. And a day or two later, everybody said, I think you were right to be.
Right.
Which, I didn't. It wasn't that I needed to hear that. But it was supportive of me knowing it was okay in those situations to really speak my truth and not be afraid of what the reaction was going to be.
Right. So, like you get to be the tiger in the living room, and you don't have to kill anybody or growl even. Just being. I love the way you say that. Standing in my truth.
Yes. Yes. Great.
Thank you, Chris. Well, I appreciate you calling in and being a Dream Journal listener.
Thank you, Catherine. I just appreciate you so much. Your show and your insights and the work that you do is really, really changing a lot of lives in our community.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, take care, Chris, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. So this is the Dream Journal. This is KSQD Santa Cruz, and we're coming live to you from downtown Santa Cruz in our sanitized station. And I want to let you know that as a community service that we have on our homepage of ksqd.org, lots of links to information about the COVID-19 virus. And as you know by now, we're on a shelter-in-place situation, so this is a good time to listen to the radio and find out what's going on with your neighbors. So the Dream Journal today, I have a call-in only show. So if you have a question about dreams, or if you'd like to share a dream, I would love to hear from you. Please give me a call at 831-900-5773. That's 900 KSQD. You can share a dream, like I said, or ask a question. So this is a song that this is the other dream song by the Mamas and the Papas.
All the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray, I came for a walk on a winter's day, I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA, California dreaming on such a winter's day. Stopped into a church, I passed along the way. Well, I got down on my knees, and I pretend to pray. You know the preacher like the cold, he knows I'm gonna stay.
This is the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and you are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz Community Radio. And we have a caller. It's on line 1. Welcome to the Dream Journal. Please say hello, say your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
It's Phoebe.
I can hear you. Oh, it's Phoebe.
Hi.
Hi, Phoebe. Thanks for calling.
Sure.
So,
I'm from Santa Cruz.
great. Yes, Phoebe is actually a member of one of my ongoing dream groups here in town, the Tuesday night group. I'm so glad you called in.
Thanks. It's kind of nice to have time to do things like this, not being at work.
Yeah, well, there's pros and cons of not being at work for sure.
Yeah. Well, I had a dream night before last that I felt kind of related to the two dreams that we've heard so far. So I thought I would tell that dream and then talk about ahas that tied in with the other two dreams.
Perfect.
Okay. I dreamt that I'm watching people body surf pretty big waves on a beach, and there's a river mouth that comes down to the beach, and suddenly a derelict factory appears out of thin air, poof, and it's sitting kind of on the river mouth or in the, near the river, and it's made of brick, very, very old brick, and the windows are all boarded up, and it has graffiti on the building. It's derelict, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I woke up feeling that I've kept up a really positive attitude really well here in this stressful time, but that depression could appear at any moment. But then thinking more about the dream, I was remembering what came to my mind was Thomas More in Care of the Soul, talking about how our cities don't have many ruins. And when they do, it adds soulfulness to a city. And so I was thinking about difficult times adding soulfulness to our lives. And it's the matter of kind of changing one's perspective. And dreams are so good at that. Jeremy always used to say, Jeremy Taylor used to say that the answer, what does a dream mean? And the answer is all of the above.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so, but it takes a real depth of mind to switch your perspective. To thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be so depressed. Oh, it's coming. Oh, this is going to be so awful. To this situation is adding soulfulness to my life. and to have it be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about the bear dream, which made me think of what's her name, Clarissa Pinkola Estes.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she has a myth about a bear that's about women's anger.
Mm.
And for me, there is, too, in the Derelict Factory and in the Tiger, a lot about feeling so helpless in a world run by the patriarchy. And, you know, women get together and we've got a solution and we're doing it. Think of what teachers are doing, you know. Of course, there's male teachers, too, but, and just feeling so helpless up against a bumbling government.
Mm-hmm.
And, as you know, I've been working dreams for a long, long time about anger.
Right.
And how to transform anger into something that is more of an authentic spiritual depth rather than just denying one's anger and or just exploding with it and living in anger all the time. So this also, besides adding soulfulness to our lives here, I'm feeling that this situation is an opportunity to look at my anger. I'm angry about this situation. My business is closed down. I could lose everything. You know, I'm scared, and I feel the situation was bungled. It makes me very, very angry. And I need to, and I think people are angry with reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, if I can live with that anger, see it in my dreams, see what, really acknowledge that anger at a very deep level, it's, it can add so much to what I'm learning here about anger and about soul.
I love it that in Chris's dreams with the tiger is a very fierce creature, but the tiger itself is not attacking. There's no growling or anything. That the tiger is peaceful in a way, but fierce and strong. Maybe that's a new model for anger. If we can kind of bring the dreams together into like one dream, that we can have our so-called angry self, and maybe there's like a fierceness there that is a way of like standing up for ourselves and advocating, but that doesn't need to be destructive either of others or of ourselves. A new paradigm.
Right. Some very deep, spiritual, authentic anger.
Right. And like the derelict building, to bring that in. Did you say there was like graffiti? It's all... Yeah, which is like there's a kind of an attempt to make things beautiful or to put your mark on something when it comes to graffiti, and it,
I also kind of think of these angry, unemployed youth going around defacing things and saying, "I'm here, look at me, this is my name, this is my art,"
wanting to matter, to make a difference.
Right.
Did you say that the building was by a river?
Yeah. There's a big river mouth and a sandy bed where the river, sometimes it's big, it runs. But right now there's only a little bit of water in it going down to the sea.
Oh, interesting. So the water flow is a very low level right now. That's kind of a poignant image right there.
Yeah. So the factory appears on the sandy bed of the river, the dry bed of the river. All
right, and so certainly in the past, rivers used to be used to power factories, and so that if the river ever dried up, you couldn't even operate the factory at all.
Yeah. I was thinking about all the factory workers who lost their job when this factory closed down too. Right.
Well, there's a lot of that happening around the country right now. But there is something about that, the depth that brings, that the image of this to the anger and the sadness and all the layers, the way the dream image is kind of
all
holds.
All the manic gears of our society grind to a halt for a moment.
Yeah, Right. Like first says, the earth is taking a breath in a way that we can all kind of step back and take a breath. And breathing for those and the lung. This disease attacks the lungs. There's something poignant about that. Like almost treating the pandemic as a dream itself. It is kind of dreamlike. Like I've had dreams of being isolated, and so this is one of those world situations that is very dreamlike.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Thank you, Phoebe. I really appreciate you bringing this.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care, and I will talk to you again. We are still having our regular Tuesday groups. We're having them online on Zoom, so you can contact me if you're interested. We had our first one on Tuesday, and it actually went quite well online. I might offer more online groups as the need arises, since we all need support during this time and going forward. Okay, take care, Phoebe, and we'll.
Take care, Catherine.
Okay.
Thanks, on Tuesday night.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. So this is the Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell, and we are doing a call-in only show. We have openings on the lines. The number now is 831-900-5773. You're welcome to share a dream that you are curious about, or even if you just want to share it without having any feedback, because it can be very powerful to just speak a dream. I think there's something about, that's why I like the breakfast table. So what did you dream about last night? Is wonderful that you can just share the dream and without even trying to work it in any kind of way or understand it necessarily, that there's a way that still is helpful. So one of the things one of the ways that I work with dreams quite frequently is something called dream work practices. That it's a way of taking the lesson from the dream and bringing it into my waking life. I think that really deepens the effect of the dream, because I think of dreams as showing where the cracks are happening, where changes are happening. Like, when a root reaches down into the soil, it kind of cracks the soil open. And the dreams are showing us like where the cracks are because of the root that's growing. So it shows us where we are growing. And I would like to bring that back into waking life and make it a kind of an awareness practice. So that I notice, like in this dream I had where I ran away and isolated myself, to notice when I isolate myself, and then also notice when I'm opening the door and how difficult that is to open the door, and really ask for help and ask for someone to be with you. Because, when I'm upset, sometimes maybe I'm afraid I'm going to hurt somebody. There's something that I just need to, interesting. Like I have the story that I need to be alone when I'm angry, but maybe that's changing. Maybe that's something that's starting to shift. There's a way I'm starting to open the door. I have a dog. My dog's name is Fluffy, and he is Max always jokes that he's my emotional support animal, because if I get upset, even a little bit, like if I just I'm cooking and I drop something and I go just make any kind of like frustrated noise like that, he will come running in and be so concerned. He's like, oh, he'll come running in. Are you okay? And sometimes I just wanted to just go away so I can pick up whatever it is I dropped. But, there's something beautiful about that relationship I have with him, because we really sculpt the relationships we have with each other. And there's some way that he knows that I need help even more than I know it myself. And maybe there's a way I'm learning to let him be there and maybe slow down. Maybe I don't need to just rush on and fix whatever it is that broke, but maybe it's okay to take a breath and be with the feelings that are coming up. That's nothing that we ever learned as children. Mostly it was like, get on with it, be quiet and keep doing your work. Or, there's a way that we weren't really told to drop deeper into our feelings. So I had a experience a couple of years ago, the first IASD conference that I attended in Anaheim, and I was a volunteer for the audiovisual team, and we had this training session, and there was like 15 of us sitting around a big conference table and learning how to operate microphones and the PowerPoint presentations, and it was all very technical, and it was kind of a lot. And one of the people in the group says, "Oh, this is too much. Wait a minute. This is too frustrating. Like, I'm not getting it." And there's like this pause, and I'm kind of expecting the usual kind of thing is like, "Well, okay, well, all right, well, we'll like kind of eye roll and help you along." But no, that's not what happened. There was a little pause, and then someone said, "Go deeper into your feelings." And we all cracked up because there was a way that's like, we never get that in waking life is the chances like something's coming up right here. And yes, there's a task that has to be accomplished, but maybe the thread that it's pulling on has to do with something that happened in our past that's coming up for us right now, and that we can shift who we are by pulling on that thread and feeling into that upsetness and like going deeper into your feelings. So I mentioned the IASD conferences, and it's not clear. We're going to have to see what happens, because that's not until June 13th through 17th. But things are very much in flux right now. So if you're already registered, just hold tight and we will see what happens. But there is a lot of things that are up in the air right now. So you're welcome to call in. The number here is 831-900-5773. That's 900-KSQD. You could share a little bit about what's going on for you right now. And if you tried to call in earlier, go ahead and call back. And we will be right back. So this is Catherine Bell. You're listening to the Dream Journal on ksqd.org. This is Community Radio of Santa Cruz, and there is time for another call-in if you like. That's 831-900-5773. And in the meantime, we have Rick Kleffel here in the studio, who is our amazing musician who generates all this background music that you hear every week on the Journal.
Good morning, Catherine.
All right. Good morning.
So, it's so much fun to do this music. I've been using a lot of kind of new cutting-edge gear that allows me to loop 4-bar segments of different sounds, change the sounds as the bars loop, and also add loops, take things off, extend them. And also what's really fun is with this music is you can change the probability with which a note will play. You don't have to play. You can write a score and say, well, I want this note to play 7 out of 8 times, or 51%. So you can work in this kind of evolving change. And at the same time, you can change the actual sounds you're playing. And given the kind of equipment I have, which involves a lot of what's called frequency modulation synthesis, FM. This is just using 2 sine waves, a simple triangle wave, one to affect the other, in a series of what are called carriers and modulators. You can change the way these things string together and create like a simple block across, like 5 of them dropping down from 1, or 1 going to 2, going to 3. And every time you change that, it changes the nature of the sound in unpredictable and often magical ways. It's
yeah, well, this is kind of a unique feature of the Dream Journal, is to have this music in the background, and it's you can hear a little bit of it right now. We try to keep it at the level of what Brian Eno defines ambient music, is music that you can pay attention to if you like, but that is not distracting from the main content that's going on here. And one of the things I love about this partnership that we've been doing since last July is that often Rick will adjust the music depending on the topic, or like if someone's talking about birds, suddenly we'll start hearing bird sounds or running water. And there's like this lovely interactive aspect to the live music that we have in the show.
It's really fun. That's one of the most really fun parts, is to keep an ear on my music and also keep an ear on what you're saying. And often when I'm doing that, I find that I don't actually hear the music I'm playing as a complete piece until afterwards when I listen to it. So I never know going out of the show, even if I played anything at all or how it sounded. It's the whole process happens in that fusion between listening to what you're saying and operating the machines and keeping them from getting cranky.
They get cranky, do they? Huh?
Yeah. Well, it's just like anything else. These machines, some of these machines are put together in what the manufacturer calls an organismic manner, which is they're wired and put together so that when you turn a knob, it doesn't always do the same thing twice. Many of the sounds that you hear on the show are sounds that will only be heard once in the recording of that show. You can never. Sometimes they're gone in the wind, and they're never coming back.
Well, usually Rick has a table full of equipment. If you've ever seen the Facebook Live at the end, I usually go out and show the table with all of his complicated equipment. And today we have a different situation happening, but it's been wonderful collaboration that I've been doing with Rick. And I appreciate the music that you contribute to the show.
Well, it's really fun. It's been just such a learning experience for me to show up. And I started this show with the idea I would try to improvise everything that I do from on the spot. And that's actually pretty easy with these kind of sequencers. I have 3 or 4 sequencers. They can work together, one with another in lockstep, or you can drop them out of step so you can create a kind of more drifty, ambient, and less predictable sound, which is the way I like to play. It's one of the things that I think you brought up a really important point about this kind of music, is it needs to be equally ignorable and interesting so that you can, if you sit down and enjoy it, you can listen to it and you'll find a lot of intricacy there because the machines weave together in ways that I can't imagine or can't necessarily predict, but it's a great fun to play. I can tell you that. And you can also, as I say, you can change the sounds as you go. So sometimes when you change the sounds, you'll actually change the musical notes being played, and it'll warp. You'll hear this kind of nice sliding into a slightly different key. And the thing that I find is that it's the trick is to find a way to move from one sort of piece and sound and mood to another to keep up with what you're talking about on the show.
Right.
Sometimes people are talking about stressful things, and I'll want to bring it in like a more stressful sound, but still soothing, but a little more insistent. And some other times I just want everybody to feel like they're standing out in the forest from Avatar. Right. That's the environment I want people to imagine they're in, is to create a soundscape.
And it does evolve seamlessly. So fairly often I listen into the music, and then a few minutes later it seems quite different, and yet I never was aware of how it actually changed.
That is the most fun part of all, is to weave in these different parts. And with what is fun too is to bring in the samples. You were talking about bird sounds. Part of my job offline is to go out places and gather new ambient sounds to bring in. And this is a fabulous place to look for ambient sounds. You just go stand out in the forest about just before daybreak, and you can hear what's called the dawn chorus. The birds all start chirping, and they'll chirp for about an hour when it's dawn.
And you can fold that into the other music that your machines produce. Yeah.
And it's fun too because sometimes you'll get the birds can provide a rhythmic kind of pulsing. The chirping is like a beat almost, and at other times they're singing, so it can work into the melody.
Wow. Well, thank you, Rick. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Get a little behind the scenes view.
And you can find my I also collect the music for listening offline. It's, I think, pretty does well if you want to sit down and draw a picture. This is the kind of music that's good to draw a picture to, good to read to, good to have a conversation over. And that's what I hope we can all do, is that music is a way of bringing notes together, and also people as well.
Yeah, right. Well, Rick has a music show on Monday evenings where he plays... Thank you. Sunday evenings. Why don't you tell about Cephalotron?
Cephalotron is an hour of electronic listening music. It's not dance music, but it's not, nor is it ambient music. So it's not just like a bowl of Jell-O poured on top of you, nor is it a piling steam driver. It's music that has a beat and rhythm and shape, but no words. So again, good for talking to somebody, introspection, reading, drawing. That's what I think music is so good for. It provides a background for our lives.
Right. Thank you, Rick. Well, I appreciate your contribution to the Dream Journal.
Thank you.
So next week, we will be back with another fabulous guest, lucid dream guru Robert Waggoner. Bob is the author of the groundbreaking book, Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self, now in its 14th printing, and more recently, Lucid Dreaming, Plain and Simple. Tune in next week and learn about how to become awake inside your dreams to deepen the emotional, spiritual, and physical healing that your dreams offer. Tune in live or catch the podcast replay.
Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries.
I am Catherine Bell, and this has been the Dream Journal. Thanks for listening. You can find out more about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. I offer private sessions, dream groups, and in-depth retreats. If you have a dream you're curious about, you are welcome to contact me for a free introductory dream consultation. You can also reach me at Catherine@ksqd.org. That's KATHERINE at ksqd.org. Let me know if you have suggestions for interviews or questions about a dream. If you like this show, please leave us a review on iTunes or tell a friend about the show. Today we had our call-in show with calls from Claudia, Chris, Phoebe, and then a little cameo by Rick Kleffel. And much thanks to Max Deaton on the phone lines. And thank you to all the wonderful donors who support this station. K-Squid is 100% listener supported, and donations are always welcome at ksqd.org. When you wake up tomorrow morning, take a minute to look within. Do you remember a dream? Write it down and bring it to the next Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell, and you are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz.